Welcome back to On the Record. I'm here with uh, Bob Ray, who is at no longer at Level Platforms, but you're at Datto.
I am.
Congratulations on it, and welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Um, we should just talk. Instead of talking about where you're going with Datto, because I think this is day 2 for you.
Yeah, it's literally my second day of employment at Datto. So
Do you know how to spell it yet?
I do know how to spell it.
Okay, let's see.
Datto. But see, I'm still spelling it like a Canadian though, so that's part of the problem. I got to get my New England accent down. So
Day 2.
Datto.
So the industry itself is changing. You've changed, and you're going into someplace else. And
Yep.
Level Platform's going to do great. I think everything that's going on with that is really good for everybody,
Absolutely agree.
except for their competitors. um, but the competitors are doing pretty well now too.
Absolutely.
So it's all's well
Mhm.
in the MSP world. But outside of the MSP world, let's start with so things like devices. Is it going to explode?
Well, okay, now, is there really anything outside the MSP world? I like to think of managed services, just it's more of an evolution, right? We all used to be traditional resellers way back in the day, and then we're value-added resellers, and then we're solution providers. Managed services providers nothing more than just kind of the industry term, but in essence, everybody's kind of doing it. It's kind of like cloud-based solutions. Everybody has to do it. It's an evolve or die kind of situation. So you say outside of managed services, where I'm going to kind of take it back and I'm going to say within the managed services realm, which encompasses pretty much everything within the channel. Now, back to your original question, when you're talking about specific devices, I think there's always going to be a need for a device. Everybody's always talking about devices, and as much as we keep talking about the evolution of the cloud and getting away from devices and device management, we're seeing more and more devices coming into the work environment. There used to be a day 4, 5, 6 years ago where we would have a notebook or a desktop. Now we have a notebook, potentially even a desktop as well. We've got iPhones, we've got iPads. We're all running around with multiple devices these days. So as much as we continue to evolve, we're also adding more devices into the environment, which of course creates bigger opportunities for what I'll call a managed services provider. You might call it traditional reseller.
Okay, no, I'll agree with that. And when you think about managed services, you automatically think of the cloud, and the devices don't work really unless they're in the cloud.
But is it the devices themselves, or is it the applications that they're actually using? And that's where the opportunity lies, right? I think we always need a device in order to access those cloud-based apps that we're trying to access and make more efficient in our lives. But we all still carrying around devices.
So you say to make it more efficient. Do you think we're more efficient now than we were 30 years ago when we didn't have all this stuff?
I wasn't alive 30 years ago. You're going to have to tell me.
I was 60 years old 30 years ago.
Exactly. You look great. You look great for 90. You know what? It's an interesting question, and I think it's one that can be debated. Are we more efficient? Maybe. Is our attention span less? Absolutely. So I've got my phone by my side 24/7. And there used to be a day where, say, your parents would bother you because you were always on your phone, or your wife or your spouse would bother you because you're always on your phone, but now they're always on their phones. I remember one of the first times I ever met my mother-in-law, she's like, you're always working, you're always on your devices, you're always checking your email. And now it's to the point where she's even checking email at the dinner table. So it's more of an evolution, I think, of society. Does it make us more efficient? Studies would suggest no. Does it make us more accessible? We're all working 24/7. These days, you kind of have to, right?
And not only that, but now everybody expects everything instantly.
Now, exactly.
I use GoToMeeting a lot, okay? And I'll have 5 or 6 or 7 people come on quite often, or 10 or 15, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's 2 minutes late, people are saying, people just hang up.
Yep.
They think, oh, okay, he forgot about the mess
Yep.
of the meeting.
Yep.
If something goes wrong, and you don't fix it within 3 seconds, they're upset with you.
Absolutely.
And because of that, you have more mistakes happening.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, on the other side, my 8-year-old son knows more about devices and how to use them. He comes over to me and he'll walk into my office, and I'm trying to work on something, and he'll say to me, "Dad, just give it to me."
Mm-hmm.
And he
Do it himself.
and it's not for him. He does it for me.
Or yeah, absolutely. I've got children as well, and it's amazing what a 5-year-old these days can do with an iPhone versus what we can do. And that's a pretty scary, scary thing.
Oh yeah. Well, I think they're born with a new chipset than we have.
Yeah, it's just the natural adoption. Now, that being said, we're both from Toronto. How many times a week did you go out and play hockey in the street?
Me?
Yeah, when you were a kid.
Personally?
Every night.
Day.
Every day. We were outside until the sun went down. My kids?
You know what? We
Yeah.
used to go out at night, or actually when we started, before we would start playing, we would take we had 2 tennis balls. We didn't have 300 tennis balls like my kids have. Of course, most of us steal from different types of shows I'm at, but that's something different.
So you've been playing hockey with Dado tennis balls, is that what you're saying?
Probably. But we would paint it white,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we would leave it so that we could have the extra 15 minutes or so at night
So
where you could
when
see
it
the
got
white
dark.
ball.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
You see kids around the street doing that kind of stuff. Instead, they're not.
Very
They're
little.
on their devices. They're playing hockey virtually. And
Yeah.
that's
well, my sons, all 3 of them are into hockey
Right.
because I play more hockey than anybody you probably know.
organized sports.
But yeah, it's so and they all like sports, which is great.
Which
But-
takes us completely away from the managed services conversation.
Exactly. So, but now I can play this interview back to my kids, and they'll say, "Wow, he actually likes us."
True, which is important as well. You could text them that if you wanted.
That's right. But then they'll text back to
Yeah,
me,
exactly, yeah.
and they're so much faster. But really, if you think about the whole industry at all, like overall, there's like the things that. What do you think are going to be the real hot stuff coming up?
The obvious one is mobile device management, and I think as we continue to transition, we actually talked about this quite a bit when I was leaving Level and looking at the device management aspect of it and where the opportunity lies for the channel. And when we look at the device management, we're seeing that transition from notebooks, desktops into tablets. And this is the first year, 2013 will be the first year ever where tablet sales will actually outsell notebooks and desktops. Now, here's the thing. We all talk about the death of the PC. We're talking about the death of the device, that kind of thing. But the trending actually is not working out that way. What's happening is we're seeing PC sales flatten. PC sales, notebook sales are actually flat. So the devices that we've got, we're replacing. We're not adding incremental ones. Instead, what we're doing is we're supplementing it with additional devices like smartphones and tablets. That's where we're starting to see those by device coming up. So when we look at the managed services market, the solution provider market, and we look at opportunities as far as where those are lying, you start looking at a per user type management rather than a by device or a by site. So when you do per user, now all of a sudden you can encompass all of the devices that we all bring to work every single day into that managed services offering, and that's where you can actually charge more for that and add more value to your customers.
So you say it's the devices. I say it's the apps because as we build more and more and more apps,
I would agree.
we need more and more and more technology. But it goes both ways.
It absolutely does. You can't use the apps without the devices, and the devices are the easy thing for a managed service provider to say, you see that phone, I'll take care of that phone. As opposed to saying, I'm going to take care of these things that are sitting in the cloud. As a business owner, if you're manufacturing widgets all day, do you really care about that thing that sits in the cloud that you don't really understand? No, you care that this device that you're carrying around actually works.
But you also care about, especially from a business point of view, will that make my company more profitable?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the critical conversation.
The device is just the carrier,
Yeah.
whereas the
Yeah.
app is what
Yeah.
you really need.
Agreed. These are nothing more than monitors. That's in essence all it is, right?
Yeah. But a very powerful one.
Oh, it's the one that you can put the tangible value of what you're contributing to your customers on, even though it's not really this. It's what's sitting behind it.
For sure.
Yeah. We're on the same page.
So, Dad,
Mm-hmm.
you excited?
Very excited. Very excited. It's a great company, very fast growing. With the acquisition of Level Platforms, there was a lot of vendors that were calling and asking, unrestricted free agent status technically. And Austin, who's the owner of Dado, calls me up and says, come down to Connecticut and spend the day together. I went down to his office. I was so impressed with the operation that they've got going. If you ever get a chance to come down to Connecticut and see it, it is a beautiful thing. So I walked in there and I looked and I wanted to be a part of it. So
Yeah. I'll probably try to do that.
You should.
Well, you'll have to invite me one day.
You're invited. Open
Okay.
invitation.
Open invitation. So, Bob Ray, no longer in Canada.
No, I'm
more.
still based out of
Oh,
Toronto.
you're still in Toronto,
I am in Toronto.
temporarily,
Perhaps.
maybe. VP, VP of Business. Is that what
Vice President of Business Development,
Yeah.
correct.
For data.
Data.
Data. Data?
Say it like an American. Data.
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 Data. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it right.
I got it right.
Yeah.
Level platform was easier to
Level
say.
platforms was much easier.
Thanks for being on the
Always a
show
pleasure.
again.
Thank you.
Bye.